Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another episode of Kast. Today's episode is going to be mostly about Nintendo on account of the fact that I started covering Nintendo titles in 2014 and I plan to continue to do so despite their recent announcement of the Nintendo Creators Program, which I don't really agree with or support. I'm still very excited about some of the Nintendo titles that are coming in 2015, so I still plan on covering them, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that, as well as what happened last year, some of the successes that I felt Nintendo had, and some of the stuff that is coming onto the channel later. Still this month, I believe, I'm going to be doing a lot of coverage on this bad boy right here. This is the new 3DS. I plan on doing a lot of coverage on that. So I want to talk to you guys about it in a Cast episode. So here we are. But as per usual in the Cast episodes, let's get started with the shout out section. Today we're going to be giving a shout out to Ian Smith for becoming a Patreon supporter. Thank you very much, good sir. The Patreon page that I haven't really updated in quite some time. I've been trying to work on it, but becoming a father recently has obviously taken a big chunk of my time, as you can hopefully imagine. But yeah, you guys can become Patreon supporters by following the link that is in the bottom of the description of every video I make. There's a link there to my Patreon page, so if you ever wondered how you could become a Patreon supporter, that is how. So thank you very much, Mr. Ian Smith. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. I'd also like to give a shout out to the blog Meus Jogos DS, which is a Portuguese blog where they talk about Nintendo DS consoles. That would be the older DS console as well as 3DS. So if you have a DS console and you are a Portuguese person, you might want to check them out. They do a lot of articles on Nintendo. And even if you're not a Portuguese person, still check them out and make sure to thank them, because it was through them that I was able to buy a ambassador edition of the new 3DS, because Nintendo put me in touch with them and they had a couple of unused invites to purchase the new console. So thank you very much, guys. It was really, really cool of you. But let's get started. So before we start on talking about some of the coverage that I've done in the past, as well as some of the coverage that I have planned for the future in terms of Nintendo and the channel, I guess we definitely need to address the elephant in the room, which is the Nintendo Creators Program and my stance on the whole thing. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into this thing because I feel that a lot of YouTubers have already sunk their teeth into it and they've talked at length about it. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I don't really agree with the Creators Program. I think it is a very, very, very bad move on Nintendo to do something like that, because essentially we've seen a lot of video games that have received a lot of success because of YouTube, because people are making YouTube videos on those games. I mean, one of the prime examples, at least for me personally, is Dark Souls, because I've covered a lot of Dark Souls, and I know of a lot of people that started playing Dark Souls because of me. So without actually any investment from Namco Bandai or From Software or whatever, without them paying me anything or me paying them anything. Well, actually, I bought my very first copy of Dark Souls 1. So I guess, actually, and Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition as well. So without any money technically having exchanged hands, they've made quite a bit of money off of me in a way, because of the fact that I advocated for their game, which is, to me, was still one of the best games ever made. Dark Souls 1 is just like the best. Dark Souls 2 still pretty good. Not as good as Dark Souls 1, but still pretty damn good. So I kind of feel that Dark Souls is a prime example of what a game that has definitely benefited from YouTube. Other examples, more recent examples, would be things like Goat Simulator, although that is very much a YouTube bait, and I don't want to get too much into it. But let's just say that Goat Simulator has sold probably millions of copies at this point, simply because of the fact that a lot of YouTubers have played the game on YouTube, and people have seen them play and obviously bought into the game. Now, there are several examples of this, of games that became big because of YouTube, and Nintendo is, instead of taking into consideration the fact that people playing their games on YouTube already gives them money, because people say, oh, look at this game, it's really fun, it's really awesome, whatever, and then the people who watch that person, they probably will go and buy that game. Instead of taking that into account, they want to get a piece of the action on the advertising revenue, which, to be completely honest, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Nintendo, but let me just tell you that most people don't make that much money on YouTube to begin with. The PewDiePies of this world and the Total Biscuits of this world are actually they are the exception in a way. These are people who are able to make a living off of YouTube, a very nice living off of YouTube. But most people, like for instance, channels of my size, we don't make that much money. And you taking like, I don't know, 30% of whatever we're making, which I think is what you get. I didn't look into the program with great detail, but you taking 30% of what we're making is actually going to be a lot less than people flat out buying a game because we're endorsing it. So that is the reason why I just feel that Nintendo's creator program is just a really bad idea, because a lot of people have already spoken against it. A lot of people have already said Nintendo's titles are now like on the bottom of the pile for them because they don't want to play their games because they can't monetize their games on their channel and whatnot. So Nintendo, you kind of shot yourselves in the foot with that one. I'm not exactly sure what you were thinking there, but yeah, that is essentially what happened. And my stance on the whole matter is I have no plans of joining the Nintendo Creators Program at this time. And I do make that disclaimer at this time because I am not sure if that is going to change in the future or not. Regardless, I still feel it is a very bad deal. And I definitely don't think it's the right move. But again, like I said, I don't want to dwell too much on this subject. That is my take on the Nintendo's Creators Program. You guys can look up a lot of other videos with that go into detail about how the split works and whatnot. And it's just, I'm not going to get too much in depth with that because I still plan on covering Nintendo titles on my channel, just like I've been covering them in 2014. Because even in 2014, when I started covering Nintendo titles, I was already aware of the fact that I wasn't going to be able to monetize a lot of those titles in my channel because of Nintendo's policies when it comes to YouTube, because Nintendo had already claimed a lot of videos in the past when it came to Nintendo titles. So I kind of expected that a lot of the videos that I was going to make on Nintendo stuff were probably going to be claimed by Nintendo to begin with. I wasn't under any kind of illusion that I was going to be able to monetize a lot of those videos. Now, obviously, this is bad business for my channel, but in a way, I've never really been good on a business standpoint of this whole YouTube thing. I've always been more fueled by passion than necessarily how much money I could make out of things. Which is evident by the type of content that I create, because making videos that are 40 minutes or more on YouTube is just a very bad idea because of the way of the how the YouTube algorithm works and whatnot. And again, I don't want to get too in depth with this, but it was kind of something that I already expected, that I was going to be at somewhat of a loss of income when it came to Nintendo titles. However, to make up for that, something that I've noticed as I started working with Nintendo in 2014 is that at least on the Portugal side of things, the PR aspect of things has just been stellar with me. They have provided me with everything I could possibly want, and they are very responsive and supportive of my channel, which is all I can really ask for when you take into consideration how big my channel actually is and the fact that I make videos in English. Which to you guys, what do you mean make videos in English? Well, obviously, if you're working with someone who does PR for Portugal, they have a lot more advantages if you make your videos in Portuguese, which is not really the case for me. I make all of my videos in English. So I really enjoyed the way that Nintendo has been working with me so far, and I intend to continue to pursue that relationship and continue to provide Nintendo with coverage. Having said that, like I said, I don't really want to join the creators program because I don't like the idea of it. So if there are videos that I'm unable to monetize, so be it. I'm kind of okay with it. I hope that more companies don't follow suit there, because at that point I might have to change the way that I'm doing things in the channel. But for now, I have no plans of changing that. Now, having said that, let's get away from all of this controversial and whatever stuff that hopefully Nintendo will come to their senses and maybe change the way that they are doing things on YouTube. But until that happens, let's try to focus on happier things, shall we? So Nintendo in 2014, which is when I started covering their titles, something that surprised me a lot was the fact that I actually played my Wii U a lot more than I was expecting. Now, I got the Wii U, and then I requested a bunch of titles so that I could, get a feel for the console, make a couple of videos, whatnot. And suddenly I was like, you know what? I actually kind of really like these games. Like, I wasn't expecting to enjoy stuff like Super Mario 3D World or Mario Kart or whatever. I was like, stuff like Hyrule Warriors. I was expecting to enjoy that because I'm a fan of the Warriors franchise, be it Samurai Warriors, be it Dynasty Warriors, all that. I kind of like that, so I was expecting to enjoy that because I also enjoy Zelda. I only really played through the Twilight Princess, which I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, blasphemy! How could you have not played the classics on the SNES and the NES and all that? But when I was growing up, I didn't really have a lot of consoles because my parents didn't really believe in consoles. They were like, well, you just get a computer because you can work in a computer beyond just playing games. And I was like, yep, and I can also play a lot of games on it. So growing up, I was mostly a PC gamer because of that. So I never really had Super Nintendo, never really had a Nintendo Entertainment System, nothing like that. I did have a Game Boy, though, when those came out in Portugal a long, long time ago. But yeah, like I said, I've never really had, I never really played the original Zeldas. I never really played Ocarina of Time or any of those more classical titles. When I played a Zelda game, it was on the Wii and it was the Twilight Princess, and I played through the entirety of it, and I really enjoyed it. So obviously Zelda plus the Hyrule Warriors thing, whatever. I thought that was a lot of fun. So I enjoyed that title immensely. I enjoyed Super Smash Brothers, which was another title that I never really played. And as a matter of fact, Super Smash Brothers even made it into my top 10 of 2014 games, which was something that surprised me. I was not expecting to see a lot of titles from Nintendo on that list because I had just started covering Nintendo. And much to my surprise, it was like we had Super Smash Brothers. And on the number one spot, we had Bayonetta 2, which is technically not a Nintendo title. I mean, it is a Wii U exclusive. And I believe it is being published by both Nintendo and Sega. I think those are the two companies that are publishing it, because Sega didn't have the balls to go ahead and publish it themselves for whatever reason. But yeah, Bayonetta 2 was just like, to me, the best game of 2014. I stand behind that decision up to this day. It's a really good game. And in terms of polish, it was just one of the most polished titles I played that year. It's just that simple. And it was surprising to me because I wasn't expecting something like that to happen. And on top of the fact that two Nintendo titles made it to my top 10 list of 2014, there's also the fact that one of the titles that I played the most and had the most fun with was also on the Wii U. And that was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. And you guys know that I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan. And the fact that I started playing that in 2014 was just like, it blew me away. I was just enjoying the crap out of the game to the point where I said, you know what? I need to get a 3DS because I want to play myself some goddamn Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. So when Nintendo announced the new 3DS, I was like, well, that's probably the one that I should go ahead and buy. There's obviously the problem that I do not have a capture card for that unit. As a matter of fact, I don't think that a capture card for the new 3DS even exists yet. It is probably still in the development stages at this point. But I'm going to be doing some coverage on the new 3DS because obviously I own it. I've shown it in a couple of videos. And we're going to be doing some coverage on this bad boy in the channel coming up pretty soon. I want to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of this console over the PlayStation Vita, for example, which is a console that I've been playing for quite some time. And I want to talk about some of the titles that I've gotten so far on the 3DS. These were all provided by Nintendo. And to give you guys an idea, we're going to be talking about Persona Q. This was actually sent to me by Miss America. Sorry about that. Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth, then Bravely Default, Animal Crossing New Leaf, which, yeah, I'm not sure this game is for me. Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy, Zelda A Link Between Worlds, Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS, Luigi's Mansion 2, which was actually very surprising to me. Really enjoyed Luigi's Mansion. Fire Emblem Awakening, which I haven't touched yet, but I definitely want to play some of that. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D, Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, and last but definitely not least, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which I am already playing. Yes, indeed. testing out the weapons at this point. I haven't had a lot of time to play recently because of becoming a father and all that. Big chunk out of my time. But I have been getting some Monster Hunter in. I've just been testing out the weapons, see the differences between Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. I'm taking my time with it, but I want to be making videos for all these titles that I just mentioned. Put those on the channel to give you guys an idea of the new 3DS and how the new 3DS works, as well as the potential that the console has in case you guys are interested when it comes out near Valentine's Day. Which I believe the console is coming out on the 13th, along with Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and Majora's Mask 3D. So that is going to be, to me, in my personal opinion, that is going to be kind of a big deal for Nintendo fans. So I plan on kind of providing you guys with as much coverage as I can in regards to that. Now, having said this, there's also the fact that in 2015, there's a couple of Nintendo titles that I'm really excited about. Namely, obviously, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate that I have already been playing. And another title is Xenoverse Chronicles. Oops, I keep getting those two mixed up. Xenoblade Chronicles and Xenoblade X. Is that the name of it? Xenoblade X? Because there's an old game from the Wii that is being ported and that is only going to work on the new 3DS. That is Xenoblade Chronicles. Really, really curious to play that title. As a matter of fact, I wanted to play that title when I had a Wii, but I never got around to it. So I definitely plan on playing it on the 3DS, and I'm very curious for checking that title out. And naturally, I also want to play the next version, which is going to come out for the Wii U, which is Xenoblade. Is it X? Again, I still don't know exactly what the name of that is. Xenoblade Chronicles X. That is the name of the title. I kept getting it confused because the name of the first one was Xenoblade Chronicles. So I thought the second one was just going to be Xenoblade X, but it's Xenoblade Chronicles X. And I keep saying Xenoblade. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking that one out. Interested in checking out the new Zelda that's going to be coming out. I think that one is going to be insane. It is looking really good, the little stuff that we've seen so far, as well as I'm very curious about Star Fox because I never really got to play Star Fox in the Nintendo 64. So I'm curious of checking that out for the Wii U. Now, obviously, I'm also very curious about what else they're going to put out for the new 3DS because I intend on playing my 3DS quite a bit throughout the year. Naturally, the videos that I'm going to be making for the 3DS, since I don't have direct feed, are going to be mostly face cam videos, and I'm going to try and include a little bit of filming on gameplay whenever I can during those videos to show you guys as much gameplay as I possibly can without necessarily having the direct feed. So that is going to be some stuff that's going to be hitting the channel for sure throughout 2015. And that is why I want to keep covering Nintendo titles. Because again, like I said earlier in the video, I know it is a bad business decision. And I know that a lot of people just see stuff black and white and they're like, oh, Nintendo doesn't want to share revenue with me or whatever. Nintendo's claiming my videos, they're going to go to the bottom of the pile and all that. And I've always been more the kind of person that is like, oh, I kind of like this game. I want to make content about this game. But obviously, I also need to have some kind of a business sense. So if eventually more and more companies follow suit on what Nintendo is doing, my plan is to essentially just criticize games like this. Face cam, straight up. That is going to be what I will be doing if it gets to that point. Because while I want to show people gameplay and I want to do as much as I possibly can to give you an accurate idea of what a game is about, because at the end of the day, I don't really consider the kind of content that I do reviews as much as it is to inform you guys of how a game works. Because that is something that I've always wanted. Like, I remember when I was younger and I would watch video game reviews, I'd be like, okay, I want to know how this game works to know if I like this game. I don't care if the person who is reviewing the game, if they like it or not. That doesn't really tell me a whole lot. What I want to know is, how does the game play? And that is something that I've always felt that was missing from traditional reviews, because they were like, oh, the graphics are like this, the presentation is like this, yada, 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 it's a JRPG, it's this, it's that, and the other. And they don't really explain to you, at least they didn't used to, how the game actually worked. And that is the type of service that I'm trying to provide with my videos, which is what I kind of call gameplay impressions. I'm still not sure if that is the best name for it. But yeah, I would love to show you guys as much gameplay as I possibly can for every game that I possibly can. But unfortunately, that is not always going to be possible as we brave on to the next stage of YouTube, which who knows how many companies are going to start to claim their gameplay footage following suit on Nintendo. My advice to people is don't do that because you're alienating your audience, but I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with all of that. But regardless of what happens, I plan on continuing to cover stuff in the best way that I possibly can. Hopefully through showing you guys a lot of gameplay, because that is the way that I've been doing things, and that is the way that I personally like doing things. But if that becomes impossible, then this is how we're going to be talking with one another directly, face to face, kind of like the Nintendo Direct coming directly to you. I'm really not trying to make fun of Nintendo. It just came to my mind all of a sudden. It's like I'm in water right now, speaking directly to you. But yeah, I plan on doing a lot of Nintendo coverage in the upcoming months as stuff gets released for both the Wii U as well as the 3DS. Particularly the 3DS, you can expect a lot of content pretty soon on the channel, I think, because I want to experiment with the format, see what works, see how I'm going to, talk about these games, namely, obviously, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, because you guys know I'm like dying to talk about that game. So that is definitely going to be something that's going to be hitting the channel soon. For those of you who are wondering how my kid is doing, he is doing fine. Mommy is very, very tired, still recovering from giving birth. But yeah, everything is going fine. He is still not sleeping full nights, as I believe he is not going to be sleeping full nights for quite some time. He sleeps in about 2-hour intervals, which means that I am completely wasted, considering that I already have sleeping disorders, as you guys are well aware. The fact that I now wake up every 2 hours to prepare a bottle for him while mommy calms him down is definitely not helping me out when it comes to my own personal sleep disorders. But we've been struggling through it, and we'll get it done. We're gonna raise that little iron breaker to be the best iron breaker he can possibly be. But anyway, leave me your comments, feedback, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.